Thank you for coming along. Otherwise, this would have been really weird. And we wanted to give an update on something that we know is important to people, and they view it from afar and say things, although getting involved is quite another matter. So, earlier this year, a thing called the Governance Task Force was formed to look at some of the things that we did, and we wanted to give an update on our progress. We want to be very open. It's an open source project, so we should be open. So we'll go on to the next slide. I just want to explain who a few of the people in the room are. So we have Stella Power from Ireland. We have Ella Mayer from Germany. We have myself from the UK. And I'm also in the Drupal Association as well. And we have, all the way from America, we have Adam Bergstein. Okay? And I will explain why it's important that Adam's on. Oh my God, somebody's sending another message. I will explain why it's important that Adam's here shortly. Okay, I just want to explain what we're going to talk about. So, first of all, I want to talk about what on earth governance is, the history of what's happened with terms of governance in the Drupal project, why we are here, what we've been up to, what will happen next, and then kind of what we've been doing so far, and we'll give you a little bit of an insight into what's been going on. Okay, and then we want to give some time for a couple of questions, and hopefully you can ask lots. Otherwise, this is going to be weird. Okay, so governance definition. Well, actually, it's not as simple as you might think. Going on to the next slide, it's actually hard to define. Or at least, people don't define the word governance consistently. Yeah? It's not actually even a word in German. Although, interestingly, if you use something like Google Translate and you take the word governance and you translate it into German and then translate it back, the word you get back is leadership, which isn't that far from the truth. It's actually quite an interesting exercise to try it. Watch, they'll have changed it now, just to annoy me. So what does it mean? Well, it means putting in place processes and structures, standards, policies, and actually finding a way of actually making those happen. It means actually having oversight and actually taking notice that things are happening as they should happen. It means that you know what to do and who to speak to when you think there's an exception. And it means that you actually look at what the best practices are for making things happen in a community and actually follow them. Okay, moving on. So, when we spoke to the Drupal community many times, there were, although it's difficult to define, there were times when if you asked people what good governance was and what bad governance was, the words they came back with were consistent, which is good. So we're talking about things like good governance is driven by the community. It's transparent. We actually understand it and we can create consensus. It's not static. Governance can't be static because the thing it's governing isn't static. Yeah, the community grows. It changes. Come in. And the things that it needs, the methods, the processes, and so on, change over time. Yeah? Hopefully, it builds trust. If you have good governance, it builds trust that we're in a good project and you can trust other people to behave in a way that you can expect. Yeah? It might not be the way you like, but at least you can expect it. It's predictable, in other words. Yeah? And it's accountable. You know, you can say to someone, no, that's not the way to do it, blah, that you're not doing what you said you would do. And actually, we do it together. It's collaborative. Fair is an interesting word, because what's fair to one person isn't necessarily fair to another. It kind of gets interesting, that. When you look at bad governance, it's actually quite the opposite. It's unclear. People don't know what to do. They can't locate documents that explain how something works. We don't tell people properly. We don't actually communicate between us what is actually happening. And you have situations where people rely on individuals rather than the process. And that causes problems because individuals are, one, only individuals, two, they're human, and three, can't do this forever. Okay? You can't keep doing the same thing forever. It's not possible. Not without going a little bit kind of crazy. And that's not good. Okay? Anyway. So, moving on. I did say that governance is not a static thing. And we have history. Yeah, so moving on. So Angie Webchig did a history of the governance in the Drupal project kind of presentation in, what was it, July? Yeah. So this is what you get when you leave an American to do the slides, you see. Oh. Yeah. You can't write dates. Okay. So she did this and went back because the reality was the Drupal at one point, it was like a few people sat in Belgium doing kind of a bit of coding. But there was governance. It just wasn't necessarily some big formalized thing. And it's evolved in many occasions through the years. And we're now getting to a stage where we need to think, well, what's the next stage now? Yeah? So it's worth watching, and it is recorded, and we will find a link for that, won't we, Adam? Okay.
There's a link to a slide deck online that I can share, but I'm not sure it was recorded.
Okay, right. So, moving on a bit more. It's interesting, because you can, if you don't do these things, you don't document things, you don't get those processes really solid, then the thing that becomes scary are events. There's a quote from Harold Macmillan, events, dear boy, events, they're the most scary thing in politics. Yeah? Because things happen. And it's not that the thing is necessarily bad, it's that they expose weaknesses in the work that you've done. Yeah? So we had events happen over the last few years that have exposed weaknesses in how we manage and how we govern ourselves and our community within our project. No doubt about that. Okay? And things happened, and there's some bits and pieces there, but essentially, we know we need to make some improvements. Now, a lot of people got upset with bits and pieces. Understandable. When you see shortcomings in a project that you care a lot about, it kind of gets upsetting. And we organized, it was before I started at the Drupal Association, but the Drupal Association employed or contracted, I've forgotten her name now, Whitney Hess, to run some sessions where she got feedback from the community asking, kind of how did you feel about all these types of things that happened and what can we learn from this? And that went on, and the Drupal Association shared that with the community working group and largely with the wider community as well, shared that feedback. Okay? And there were people in the community who felt, actually, do you know what? We're not quite there yet. We need to keep going with this. So they did some further sessions, for want of a better description, online text sessions on things like Slack, and I believe they did some on IRC as well. Asking for feedback and letting the community get their feelings out. That's always a good thing to do anyway on occasions. They were looking for areas of improvement in how we work together. that went on for quite a while. And in the end, they wrote a blog post, which was their way of sharing their findings. Okay?
Also linked to all of the transcripts that outlined every single discussion that happened for transparency.
Yep, so that's all on there. You can look it up. It's all on the Drupal.org website now. Yeah, on the home community blog. Okay. Thing is, if I go on to the next slide, what happened next? Well, actually, nothing. We'd all said all these things. And the community then just went, oh, I don't know, this is where we are. That's it. But that wasn't...
I think that, sadly, it was an effort that we had good intentions, and we thought that someone would pick up and run with things, but it just didn't happen. And I think we did a poor job of defining what we wanted to happen after it, and assuming that someone would move it forward.
Yeah. Okay. So everyone was looking... would it be fair, do you think, to say everybody was looking for somebody else to take this forward?
Yes. Yeah.
Good. I was hoping you'd agree to that. Otherwise, this next thing would
no
be
one
weird.
was even clear about it. Here, we wrote something.
So we came into this year, and moving on to another slide, people started to say, hey, I kind of think we should start doing something with this. And I spoke, Adam approached us. I was newly employed at the DA, I think at that time. You spoke with myself and Megan, I believe, saying, do you know what, I'm not happy with this situation. I think we need to continue. And we need to pick this up again. Not to just keep getting feedback, because if we just keep getting feedback, one, what do we do with it? And two, people need to see action. We're past the point of feedback now. We actually need to see, okay, how are we going to use stuff and move forward?
Yeah, it was extremely important that there would be a real proposal, an actual proposal defined with actions.
So Adam wrote some bits and pieces saying what he intended to do. And he said, I want to involve some other people. I want to speak to various parts of the Drupal project, both individuals within the project and various people in leadership, for want of a better description. I need your help, is this fair, to make this somehow official so that I can get access to people. Was that a reasonable discussion of our corridor conversations, of which there were many?
Yes, yeah. I think, based on the fact that no one knew what to do previously, it needed to be official. We needed something that was a known effort with a known outcome, and something that was more concrete, that had people's buy-in. And if that didn't occur, I wasn't comfortable spending more time without knowing that there would be something to come from it.
So we worked together to create a charter which described a project and a kind of official kind of signed thing from Dries that said, hey, give Adam your time. It matters. I want him to go away and do this, and I want him to involve you in this effort. So we wrote this charter, and we said what we'd do, and we got a few people together, and we published a blog post on... Actually, we posted it on the Drupal Association blog, which was actually a mistake of mine because I didn't know how the system worked then. It's kind of ironic. I was trying to publish it on the community blog. So we did that. We got some feedback saying that we probably needed to expand our membership which we did. And then we kind of got stuck in. So the conversations picked back up. I'm just moving the slides on. So we knew we had to kind of find a way of doing an effective handoff. We needed to give something that was real at the end of any new thing. We needed action, not just writing a blog post. So we got a team together, forming the governance task force, who were people from all around the world. So we've got Adam himself, there's me, there's David Hernandez, who's in the US, we've got Lindsay, who's in Australia, we've got Hussein in... Yeah, I was trying to remember if it was India or Pakistan for a minute then. Yeah, it's India. We've got Stella and we've got Ella. Okay.
Fantastic group.
Yeah, I'm really pleased.
Honestly.
Yeah, and David, Hussein was going to be here this week, but he's gone off with family to this amazing event back in India, and I'm really missed. I was hoping to see him this week. So we managed to get these people together, and we said we would do a fixed length project. Well, I say fixed length, we've just extended it till the end of October, but that's another matter.
For the rest of the talk.
So we've got a fixed length project. 2, moving on to the process, create the ideas that have already been given to us, go out and do some more interviews, but specific questions aimed around what we know already. Yeah? Take those things, take the people involved in the project, solidify down what we know, and actually write a proposal for how we think management of the project, and we're talking about the community now, we're not talking about how we choose which patch to go in, how we govern the project in the future. Yeah? And we said we'd do this. All right? So we sat there, we listened. Yeah? We find key themes. We do it. We go look at best practice outside the project. And then we actually put something together. Yeah? That was our plan.
I will stress that one of the most critical, there's 2 really critical aspects. The one is really the listening and trying to get as much understanding broadly as possible, because this is not something that we are doing for ourselves. We're trying to do this for the broader community. But the really hard part is also around the debates and the discussions and the collaboration that has gone into the proposal. Having that forum where all of us can really weigh in on what is the best ideas and what shouldn't be proposed, that's the hard part to do. And we've been working very hard at it.
You especially, Adam, actually. So I'm on the purple slide, current progress, just to let you know. And moving on. Okay. So we've been interviewing. We've been doing, I think we got up to about, I think it was dozens of interviews. I don't know quite how many dozens, but it was several. It was going on for dozens. And it was from people from everywhere. So it was developers, it was business people, it was, for want of a better description, leadership, both of individual groups that are out there, leadership of the Drupal Association. So we interviewed Megan, which was incredibly interesting. We interviewed Dries, which was very good. Actually, I learned a lot there. It was really good. Yeah, I mean these were for hours. I think it was over an hour for the Dries one, actually, wasn't it? They were big, sort of really deep conversations, which was great. And it created this wealth of information. And we used that. We distilled it down into themes individually, the members of the team, which was interesting. And then we're in the process of now of turning that into a proposal of, these are the things we've noticed. These are the things that we think the Drupal project needs to do to improve community governance. And that's a document that is starting to exist now. Yeah, it's quite a scary document going, oh my God, what am I writing? But it's good, and I'm really enjoying it. I don't know about you two. And it's
like 20 hours already just discussing the right format to communicate the ideas. So that should give you all a sense of how much work has gone in to this already.
And I know that you personally have put in some huge efforts on this, Adam. I know it's very personal. You really want this to happen, and you've driven all of us. You've driven the whole team on this. So thank you for that, because you've really made a big commitment here.
Thank you.
I don't care. I mean, I'm getting paid to talk stuff, so it's okay for me. But you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart. So yeah, we're basically doing that and collaborating on that now. Now, what we wanted to do is work out, okay, so we're working on this proposal. Now, when you do a proposal like this, and it's something that is emotionally charged, i.e., people are going to have an emotional reaction to people telling them how they should be governed. That's a completely understandable situation. Yeah?
It's a natural response, right? Because people have all of their own thoughts and opinions, but on the other side of it, there are people that have built the community today, and they might be resistant to change or hesitant about what changes could come.
Yeah. So we wanted to make sure that we put together a process for actually disseminating, i.e. bringing out into the public in a controlled manner what we're kind of proposing in a way that makes sense. Yeah. So we want, first of all, we want to talk to a few key stakeholders and make sure that we're not saying anything that's completely off the wall. Yeah. So we'll be doing that very soon. We'll get feedback from them. Then we'll get back on the keyboards. We'll then take another review, and then we'll go wider to the wider community. And then I'm sure we'll get some more feedback. And then we'll be doing some more keyboard work to take this thing to the next level and involving that again. And then at that stage, we think we will have something that we're happy with and the community understand and can buy into as well. And at that stage, we will be packaging this thing up and literally handing it to the project leadership. And the project leadership is essentially Dries. So we will be giving something to Dries, not just a document and then running away. We're not going to run away. Mainly because I don't think
We should.
I don't think I can run as fast as these two. So we basically give this thing and spend time and work with Dries to kind of explain why we said the things that we have, and work with the various key stakeholders, the DA and all the different places, to make sure that they get what we're saying. And then we'll be in a position where because the project leadership, Dries, he's responsible for the community. He's accountable for the community at the end of the day. So any decisions have to be ultimately his. That is just the reality of the situation right now. Yeah? So we give this to him. He's got to then assess it, and we can help him with that process, but that is his responsibility to do that. But that will be the point at which, once we're comfortable we've got that across, that will be our job done. Okay? That's what we're doing. That's what we are going to deliver. And then I'm sure Dries will have some questions. And we will help, we will kind of help with that, and we'll see what we can do. It might be that something comes out of this that one or more of us or one or more of you want to be involved in. Yeah, in the future. But the governor's task force will have completed its job. But there might be something else that comes out of that is something that we want lots of people to be involved in, hopefully. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah? But that's where we are. That's progress. Okay?
One comment. We are trying to understand at this point how this can be delivered to the community. And one idea that we have proposed is, instead of creating another draft of a proposal, that we would just deliver our proposal to the community and open public commentary, so that could be, like, those two things could be what is delivered to the project leadership in Dries.
Okay, so moving on. So what we want to do is give you a little bit of a preview of where we're kind of thinking. All right, so some high-level findings. And these may change, because we're not finished yet. These are not necessarily anything to read into these at this moment, but it'll give you an idea of the way we're thinking. Okay. So the one thing we do know, because we talked about it before, is wherever we write has age from the moment we hand it over. Yeah? It has age, so it's already out of date. Yeah? And we need to put in processes to continually evolve whatever we write. There are bits of the community we want that need to be much more clear about how they work and what their bounds are, what their scope is. Yeah? Things like the code of conduct, that needs to improve dramatically. We spent some time earlier this year on the DrupalCon code of conduct. That's much better than it was. And a lot of people got involved in that. It's great. It's so much better. The Drupal community code of conduct hasn't changed in years. Okay? The values and principles that Dries published. Dries will be mentioning later today that he has a values and principles committee together. I never told you that, but we did. Okay? And they will be able to work on that. Yeah? And then the leadership and the standards and the expectations, we need to be able to properly document that stuff and show processes. Yeah, I did some stuff recently. So, for example, the Values and Principles Committee that we were forming, I wrote a job description for the membership before we actually asked for members. Yeah, and it was published. People thought it was weird when I did it. But it's great because people could say, actually, that's me or that's not me, or I can or cannot abide by those requirements. Yeah. We need to do some more about humanity and being human to each other. Sometimes we're good at that. Sometimes we're amazing at that. Sometimes we're really bad. Okay. And there are concerns. There's definitely concerns that we are noticing in a lot of the feedback that we've got between walls and disconnects between different parts of the community. Yeah, where some parts of the community or parts of the organization of the Drupal project overall don't understand each other at all. Yeah, really don't see each other's eye to eye. And we need to work on that. And then we need to be finding ways of giving better support and resources to the community. Because it's not enough to just say, get better. It doesn't work like that. You have to give people the tools to achieve it. And we need to work out ways of doing that.
Also part of being human, is recognizing that even the people who are leading the project and people that are leading certain initiatives have only certain skills in certain areas, right? They still have room to grow or room to improve communication. So we need to help them to do that, and not just expect that they're perfect
Yeah.
in all the things.
So some of the tools that we might propose. Well, yeah, I mean, with these are kind of thinking that we want to show you thinking, but there's, this is not tied down yet because we're still bouncing ideas off each other. Things like a group that does that ongoing growth of community government. Multilingual on community sites so that we can explain ourselves better and how we work together. Yeah. Things like actually getting the camp and event organizers group together so that we can really make sure that camps, in-person events, have a real kind of working together type thing, yeah, and can make the best practices there. Training options. So we're going to have to find some money for that. I don't know where from, but we'll work it out. How we do onboarding of people into the community. We need to make sure that when people come into our community, they actually understand what on earth, who we are. Yeah? An induction. Absolutely. Yeah? And actually, it says there, creation of a community-wide strategic plan. There's also a kind of maintenance of such a thing as well. It's an ongoing thing too. So we can see from the community side where we want to go, yeah, and how we're going to get there, yeah, and maintain that over time. And there needs to be a group or something that actually makes that happen and thinks strategically for the community as a whole. Because at the moment, we're kind of making it up as we go along. Okay, so there's some ideas. This is the bit where I'm going to be like, oh, let's see what we get. So that's the kind of thinking that's going on. Have you any questions? Oh, yeah? Oh, hang on. Where's the microphone? Are you going to give us a microphone? Thank you very much. Because otherwise it's not recorded and, Okay, sorry, you can't.
Thank you so much. Am I audible? All right, I am. So after the handoff, what is the procedure? I mean, like it'll be reviewed by Dries, and then okay, rather I would put it this way. What would the proposal look like? What, like, in a way? Would it be, how we should govern it, like, or the findings? And
yeah, I think I understand. So I think what you're asking is how will we know what will happen? The proposal itself will say, we think these things should happen. We think you should create a group that does X, a group that does Y. This bit of documentation needs improving. This bit of induction needs creating. We need to find a way of getting this resource, etc. So it would be all these things.
Sorry.
And it might be that we suggest we need a group to manage that. Yeah?
The format of the proposal will, as Rachel mentioned, be a specific set of recommendations, and each recommendation will be elaborated in a written format with a lot of context to explain why. And it is extremely important that we figure out, how to offer the support to move items forward from that proposal. It's not suggesting that every item that we recommend is going to be adopted, but we do need to make sure that every item is considered and that we offer the right amount of support to Dries and others to consider these recommendations. And we're trying to work through exactly how that happens. We may have a summit or like a virtual get together where we carve out several hours and walk through each of the items and do that, but that's all to be determined.
Anything? Is that? Yeah. Cool. Anybody else? Yes. There you go.
Hi. First, thank for all the work. And is there a rough timetable till? It's really, I know you're all doing it in your free time, so it's really just a question. Is there a rough timetable? Is it till end of year, till end of 2020? Or
I think you will find things happening very soon now. We want to be looking to be completed by the end of October. Is that correct, Adam?
Yes, our original time frame was end of September, and as Rachel mentioned previously, we expanded the number of members in the task force, and after receiving some immediate feedback from the community, and that to get everybody onboarded and go through and actually write this proposal and do all the interviews and do this what we felt was the right way, it's just taken a lot of time. So we originally wanted to be done by the end of September, which would be in a few weeks. We probably will have our first draft done by that point in time, but that would not afford any opportunity for us to solicit any feedback at all. And I feel like that's risky. So we requested another month to basically solicit some feedback, do one more iteration of the proposal, and that we are targeting for the end of October. And that is a hard date. Our group will formally disband at that date. That is not there is no other work that will go on aside from our goodwill effort to support people after that.
Yeah.
So I'm just making that clear.
Yeah, it's proper agile. Okay, any more questions? No? Have you two any questions? Or anything to say? Do you have anything to say before, as soon as you've sat there quietly letting me do this?
Yeah, just thanks a lot, especially to Adam, who's really putting a lot of effort in there. And I think it's really cool that our group is so diverse, even if I often have the feeling that I can't add too much to the topic. I think it helps because everybody of us could bring in some other views and other perspectives because we are maybe not so deep involved into this global Drupal community like Rachel is or like Adam is. So I think, yeah, we are a really, really cool team and it's fun working together and I'm looking forward to what we will receive.
Yeah, just to reiterate that, really big thanks to Adam for all the time that he's put in, but also Rachel and David have done a huge amount of work. So yeah, thank you for that. And I think one of the great things about working together with this great team is just how diverse we are, that we come from all different parts of the world, different cultures. So I thought that was really important and I'm glad to see it that came through in the task force.
Okay. Might as well keep the mic now.
Very proud of the work that has been done, and I'm very grateful that everyone participated. You know, not only the members of the task force, who I just think are phenomenal, but also the people that we spent time interviewing with. And I know I see Joe in the room, so hi, Joe. I want to say that, and he knows this, that I've been talking to a lot of people formally and informally, and I feel very confident that there will be something in the proposal that every person in the community could identify with. That might be a bold statement to make, but I really do believe that this effort was done as much as possible with the best interests of the broader community at mind. So I'm really hopeful that this will be something that, you know, can have a positive impact. And yeah, that's what I'm hoping happens. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it for us. Otherwise, we're going to get thrown out. So thanks for coming along. Go tell people we're not crazy. And but that things are happening, and we're actually trying to take action rather than just kind of huffing and puffing. Yeah. And when this does start to get out there, we'll need the support of people to actually say, no, actually read it rather than complain. Actually read the stuff before reacting would be very helpful. Yeah, but
Feel like it's going to be perfect, that every single person in the community is going to be thrilled with it. I do feel though that I personally believe that each person in the community will probably find something in the proposal that they can relate to. They also may have better ideas, and I think that's the entire reason for opening the proposal up for community commentary in a public way, because people could read something that we have found or identified, and they may find or may have other ideas that could be better than what we've even proposed. And that's okay. So that's the entire point, right? If anything, we have done our best to move the conversation forward.
cool. Thank you very much. Oh, so you do have another question.
No, not a question, but I'm so sorry. We should really that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's us. Cheers. You've been on 3G the whole time, I've just realised.